Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I am your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I'm really excited to have two good friends of mine on, Betsy Hudson and Stephanie O'Neill. And they are co-chairs for an upcoming event that really is one of the largest, I would say, fundraising events and most popular fundraising events in Texas. It's Dancing with the Stars Austin's, presented by Mercedes-Benz of Austin's, Dancing with the Stars, benefiting the Center for Child Protection. And this is really it's an event that really brings all segments of the community together. And I thought that they would both be able to provide really great insights into what it takes to put on, really, and this is a production because of, dealing with all the talent that goes into that. So with that, we're really excited to have Stephanie and Betsy on, and welcome. And thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
So excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited to get this conversation going. So, for the first question, I would like, let Stephanie answer this one. And that is, tell us a little bit about what the mission of the Center for Child Protection.
Absolutely. So the Center for Child Protection is basically a safe space for a child that has been abused to tell their story. They help to reduce the trauma for children during the investigation process, the prosecution process. And it's a place where they can meet with someone who is friendly, warm, able to tell their story in one space at one time. A lot of times in these situations, kids have to retell their story. And the center provides an incredible space for them to feel comfortable. And they provide all these services for free, which is incredible. And they do things like forensic interviews, educational prevention, trainings, therapy, and even medical care for these kids.
Wow. So, I mean, that's quite a few bit of services in one space. And what I really love about this organization is the organization really goes out of its way to really minimize the trauma of children who have been impacted by abuse. And I think just the fact that kids can do that once and then they can kind of work on the healing process that much faster is really, really a great model that I hope, anyone who's looking to do abuse prevention, the Center for Child Protection really does have one of the best models I've ever seen of doing that and really allowing things, not that you want to call that streamlining, but to really minimize the trauma that, that people actually go through.
It's true. They're the only nonprofit in Travis County involved in the investigation and prosecution of crimes against children. So they are hugely important.
Absolutely. And, and I know that, it networks with some of the other nonprofits with that because, it's kind of a lifts all boats sort of thing. So it's, it's good that you all can be an anchor for that, and showcase, and help the community more broadly. And, with that, I want to, to have the next question, go to, have Betsy answer that. And I'd like to learn a little bit more about how each of you has gotten involved with this organization. And Betsy, I'll let you start.
Yeah, so I've been involved with dancing for a few years now, in a couple of different capacities. My introduction to it was actually being asked to be a dancer. So I was a showcase dancer about 5 years ago. And then that was really my first introduction to the meeting, first introduction to the center. And I was not aware that there was a Center for Child Protection prior to that. I think being a parent, especially, it's an easy cause to get on board with, especially when you learn the intricacies of finding out about child abuse from, the point where they might be taken from their home or taken, all the different places that a child has to go to, and why being able to show up at the center and do it all at once, one time, and then get on the path to healing. It's just incredible that we're able to offer that to them. So after I was a showcase dancer, I of course wanted to be involved more. I was very lucky that they asked me to come back as a judge, and sit on the stage and get to be a part of it that way. And then after that, I was asked to be a co-chair with Stephanie, which I love her. We work together so well.
Love you.
We have had the best time getting to do this, but also it's that common thread between everyone who's on the committee or who is dancing or a part of it at all. It's just something that once you're in it, I can't ever imagine being out of it, because child abuse is not something that's going to stop after our evening on December 9th. The reason that we're here raising money every year is that unfortunately this is going to continue to happen. However, with awareness, with the funds raised, we can actually make a real difference and shorten the length of time for these kids to get help, but also make aware or bring awareness to the community, because there's a lot of signs that people need to be aware of. And abuse is unfortunately something that happens no matter the background that you come from. It's all across the board, and people from all walks of life need to be aware of it so that this can hopefully stop happening.
That's a great answer. And I love how you've been involved with, not just the organization, but this particular event in multiple different ways over the years. And, I love that you find new ways to get involved. And I think that's, with a really good organization, one that you want to be with for years and years, it's great to be able to do different things, because it allows you to more understand the organization and just how wide of reach the impact is. And, Stephanie, I'd love to know, because I've known you a really long time. I don't know how you initially got involved with the organization. So I actually, I'd love to hear how you got involved. And then I've got a fun little nugget to share after Stephanie speaks.
Well, yay. Okay. Yes, actually, prior to my life in fashion, I was a child and family therapist. So my cause has always been children and puppies I love. So I've always had a special place in my heart for children, even before I was a mom. And back in the day when I was doing child and family therapy, I was actually a volunteer at the center. I was one of the greeters. So I was one of the first people that the children would meet when they walked through those doors. It was in a different location back then, but so even then, the center was near and dear to my heart. And I saw what they did for these kids, and these kids that would walk in, obviously so scared and not knowing what to expect, because that's probably their entire life. They don't know what to expect. And to be greeted by someone who genuinely cares, sometimes that was me. And then to be led through this warm process, a warm and inviting process, was incredible to see firsthand. So the center has always been an incredible force for me. I think it's such an incredible cause. And then I was lucky enough to be asked to dance. I was one of the exhibition dancers one year, which they had a few of us just do an entry-level dance, very entry-level. And then I was asked to actually compete. And it was incredible. The whole gala, the whole event is just so much fun. So it's been great to be involved in various ways. And then I've loved co-chairing. It's incredible to see the behind the scenes and what a well-oiled machine this is with the center. And what an impactful event this is in so many different ways. And to be a part of that is incredible.
That's amazing. And I love how you both got involved in different ways, but I also love how you two initially met and became friends. So, Betsy, I'd love for you to kind of share that, because I just learned about this in the green room and I thought it was a really interesting thing. And what I like about it is that it just goes to show that friendships can convey in multiple different ways. So Betsy, go ahead and share a little bit about how you two initially met.
Yeah, it was a bit of kismet. I had a podcast with a girlfriend of mine a few years ago, and we would interview, she and I were kind of struggling with that work-life balance. How do you balance it all? Can you balance it all? Or do you just say, like, I can't balance it all? And, we're all in the same boat. So we went around interviewing moms that had really neat careers or insights on things. And so we got connected with Stephanie, and she actually styled us as part of the podcast for ACL. And I still have that outfit and it's funny because Stephanie, she's like, who hasn't she styled at this point in Austin?
That's true.
What she put me in, down to the shoes that I bought a whole outfit from her that day. I wear it probably more than I should. I think at this point, people are like, oh, she's in that again. But I wear it all the time because it's Stephanie approved.
Hey, I'm all about sustainability. So if you're going to wear it over and over again, #sustainable.
Yeah.
Timeless.
So that's how she and I met. And I absolutely love that. And then we actually danced the same year too.
Yeah.
And so it all just worked out, and now we're co-chairing together, and it's just been great. It is such a fun night. I know that I'm kind of speaking for Stephanie, but I would, say that she and I are both creative people. And so not only do we get to help with the fundraising side of it and, really feeling like you're digging in deep to help these kids, because it's a cause that, like I said, once you're in it, you're in it. Like this is something that we'll be doing, the rest of my life, at least something I always want to help with. But the night has such an interesting shift from the fundraising to the show production and being creative and getting to be a part of all the elements that you actually want it to be a show that people enjoy and want to come back to is a lot of fun. And that's one of my favorite parts of working with Stephanie too, is getting to share a vision and come up with a really entertaining evening.
That's great.
I agree.
Oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
Well, I was going to say that's what's so fun about this event, because there's so many different components. And in being co-chair and seeing kind of the background of it and the other side, there's the business aspect with like, how much money are we going to raise? There's the creative aspect. How do you stay like the #1 entertaining event of the year? All these different things. And what's so fun with Betsy is that we both bring different perspectives. We're both creative. She's done dance before, like professionally, so she has that background too, and so she can speak to that. I own a business, so I can speak to some of those things. So it's really fun to work with someone that you just kind of complement each other so well and communicate with each other so well.
I think it's a bit of a yin and yang, because even with Stephanie and I, talking when we are on the phone, like she's very good with numbers. And so she's always like, okay, well, when we have to put this amount of money into it, what's the return on it? And I'm just like, and so Stephanie definitely comes with the business aspect of it, which I think is you're probably the more valuable member of the team.
No, that's not true.
Well, it's equal. And that's a good thing to segue into. So you two have a great rapport and a great chemistry. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to co-chair something with a friend? Because that, I've seen over the years where that goes exceptionally well, like it does with you two, but I've also seen where it has not gone exceptionally well and a friendship has ended. And I've seen that more than once. So what is the secret to really creating a good camaraderie with your co-chair? And I'd love each of you to answer.
I think first off is the mission. I'm not looking to do this for myself. I'm not seeking anything personally from it. And I don't think Stephanie is either. At the end of the day, the point of working together is to raise money for the kids. It is a very simple mission: raise money and give people a good time so that they want to come back year after year and put their money towards the center as well, or their time, or do a tour, or introduce someone new to the center that can be a help to them in the future. So I think having a shared vision to me is the key element in it.
Fantastic. And Stephanie, what about you?
I agree. I think the shared mission, because at the end of the day, if we both have differing ideas, we're like, okay, what's best for the center? What will get our end result? I also think, like I said, when you have different perspectives and different value adds, to respect that. And there are moments where I'm like, Betsy, you totally saw that dance sequence, and what a great idea to have a showcase and things like that. And then, like she said, I'll speak numbers and that kind of stuff. And we let each other kind of speak to what our skill sets are. And constant communication. Betsy's great about texting and being like, hey, should we chat about this before? When I'm just kind of running along with retail life and like, oh yeah, that's happening now. Let's chat. So it's great to have that and to be able to have like a quick conversation with each other and respect each other's opinion, but constantly leave that communication open.
Those are really both great answers. And Betsy, I want to highlight a point that you said in your answer, and that is that you're doing it for the purpose and mission of the organization. And I can tell you from experience, I can always walk in a room and kind of see if it's a vanity play for whoever the chair is versus it's really about the organization. The co-chairs realize that they're part of an ensemble, and literally Dancing with the Stars Austin is an ensemble. And I love how you just explained the importance of that it's about a higher purpose, and it's not about it's not about an individual's ego. It's about the organization and how you can help impact the community. And I love how you highlighted that and appreciate that. And, with that, I want to talk, delving a little bit deeper into, into co-chairing. This is your second consecutive year co-chairing this event. And Stephanie, we can start with you with this question. What is something you learned from last year that you'll do a little bit differently this year?
I think last year it was our first year, so we were kind of like not understanding the whole process, kind of hesitant to do some stuff. I think we learned later on that it's so important to create synergy with the dancers. Ours is obviously a very specific event, right? You're bringing people in that are quote unquote celebrities. So they're busy people. They have a lot going on. So for them to say yes to dance is a huge win for us already. But for them to be guided along this process and feel comfortable is a whole nother thing. So I think what we learned last year was to have some more like camaraderie events and things like that, because it really shows the night of when all the dancers are so excited. They love being a part of this cast. They're invested in the mission. And I think that's what we're discovering, is that the more they know about the center and the more they're invested in that mission, kind of like what Betsy was saying about us, the more they're like willing to give it 110% and really take ownership of it and want to see that night be a huge success, which is a win-win for everybody. When you have people involved that are volunteering their time, it's huge for them to be invested in the overall success, not just their own performance. And I think that's what we started to create last year. And I think we're really taking that up a couple notches this year too, with the dancers, with everybody, is just creating this synergy and this investment in the center and investment in the success of that night overall.
Wow. I love how you talked about the camaraderie, and that, a lot of that stuff builds with time, and you've also got that element that each year is a different cast. So that's, right. I love that you're kind of leaning into that more and taking that process. And Betsy, do you have anything to add as to anything you learned from last year that, you're going to evolve the way you do it this year?
I agree with Stephanie completely. Yeah, we have a big ask for these dancers. It is a lot. And it's a lot to not only have all the practices. A lot of the dancers have not danced in a professional capacity before. And so I think one thing that we always hear every year is like, oh, I have 2 left feet, and then to see that, with a lot of hard work, they really do put everything into it. That the night of, everyone looks amazing. Like, it really is someone who, even like their family members sometimes have been like, I can't believe they're dancing. They, and then they put on this show and everyone's jaws are on the floor. And so to not only be able to help give them that boost of esteem and letting them have a performance that is, so eye-catching and something they'll remember doing for years, but also, like Stephanie said, the synergy and bringing them into the center. I think one way that we get new dancers every year is not only from just, personal relationships with people, whether it's Stephanie and I or the committee, but past dancers have a huge impact on future dancers. And, being able to maybe ask on our behalf and say, hey, this was a really positive experience that we had with the center, and I think you should do it too. Put on the courage cape and, put yourself out there and do it. So I think that's something we've learned, getting into like the nitty gritty of the night. I mean, I think every year our first meeting, we're like, how do we make the event shorter? And I don't know if we figured it out, but we're trying.
We're trying to make the whole thing entertaining and not just like there's the dance and then there's the fundraising. Yeah. We're trying to this year really kind of incorporate it all and make it all even more exciting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a fine line between wanting to make sure that it's like a great, piece, but kind of having to look and say, just from a logistics standpoint, okay, is this going to work for next year? We tried it this year. Is this the best way to use, this factor and this factor? And so it's all a learning curve. I think that's one of the things that keeps bringing me back to it, is it's a new event every year. And so getting to work.
Yeah, we had so many ideas.
I know we found
last year that night. We're like, yeah.
We always come in and we're like, we want this,
yeah.
this. And then the budget starts to come in, or
exactly.
Like, okay,
and then we talk numbers. Yeah. I like the creative part better, but yes.
Well, I want to highlight something that you were talking about, and that is, how you've both brought this up during our conversation so far, and that is, having former dancers be involved with the organization. And one thing about Dancing with the Stars Austin that I've always just been in such awe of is the devoted and passionate following this event has. I mean, it really is. You see the same people year after year. There are some people that I only see them at that. I don't see them at any other point throughout the year. What's a thing a person or an organization that you found can do to really create a devoted following for their own annual gala or signature fundraiser?
I think, like what we were saying, invested in the mission. Obviously, this is a cause that's so incredible, and it's children. So I think anyone can relate and have a soft space in their heart for this. And then I think with entertaining them and taking it up a notch every year, I think we've continued to increase the bar, not only financially, but entertainment wise. Like we took it up a couple notches last year with more dances, things like that. We have ideas for this year to take it up a couple notches. So not just being the same event every year, but being something that someone's already invested in the mission, but then they want to go again to see what's new. This was so much fun last year. Oh my gosh, what are they going to do this year? So to keep them wanting to come and also wanting to support a cause that's near and dear to their heart.
Absolutely. And, and Betsy, I'd like for you brought up a couple of times the term shadow dancing, and, we're kind of getting into the point where we're talking more about the event. Can you explain the difference of like what a shadow dancer is versus what a celebrity dancer is, and kind of, you did one before you had done that before you became a judge. So and Stephanie was I don't want to say a professional dancer, but a celebrity dancer. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, so you mean a showcase dancer?
Yes, a showcase dancer. I'm sorry.
Yes. So a showcase dancer is someone that we just ask. It's kind of like just before the event entertainment. We might use the, pro dancers in that capacity, where it's just a little bit of fun before the actual dancing begins. So showcase dancer is asked on by the center, just as pure entertainment, no competition. And then the celebrity dancer side of it is someone that is brought on because of, their connection or their platform, to actually compete the night of for the Mirror Ball Trophy.
So, I want to dive in. This is the perfect time to kind of dive into that, because I've got a zillion questions about it, that I think people want to know. The first, I think, is, because this year, and we'll get into kind of who the dancers are in a moment, but you have some pretty, nationally known names that are a part of this year's cast. What is the secret to getting a high profile person or a celebrity to say yes, and especially to a commitment like this? Because, they're doing multiple dance lessons. It's not Dancing with the Stars Austin is not completely unlike the main show on ABC or Disney Plus. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to get someone to a yes for such a big commitment.
Right. I think going back to connecting with the mission, number one, I think that's the fundamental for it all. If they believe in the mission and they see what an impact the center does, that's a first step towards a yes. I do think some of these have started as a personal favor or a request from a friend of like, this would be amazing. You would be amazing. And then I think, there's also, we've invited guests this year that are dancing next year, so it's really getting them to see, what is this about? Why do I even care? Right. The center, what does it do? B, why is this a fun event? Why would I even want to be involved? And once you go to this event and you see what an awesome experience it is, and yes, it takes work, and yes, it's time, your time, but to see yourself on stage and see how awesome the crowd reacts and see how quickly it goes, I think it's incredible for them to see that this is an impactful event, but it's also an entertaining and fun event. And so your yes is huge, but it's all for great causes and a great night.
I love that answer. Betsy, do you have anything to add on that?
I think she said that pretty perfectly. I honestly, there's not really that is how we get them to do it. I will add though that, for us, like Stephanie said, we invite people this year for next year, sometimes, especially because Austin has become, in the last few years, kind of a hot spot to move to. And so the dynamics of Austin have changed. And so just, we're always looking to future years ahead. Stephanie and I won't be the chairs forever, but do we want to be able to offer as much as we can for future chairs? Of course, because again, this all comes back to the mission and continuing to help the center. So there might be people that we just want to get them in the room so that if we needed to have and ask for them, even if, it's not the next year, but the next year, they know what we're talking about. It's, for someone who's never been to the event, it's kind of hard to explain it to them because there's so many moving pieces to it. And then you throw in just explaining the center and explaining why it's important. Sometimes the easiest way is just to be like, look, come sit at my table for the event, see what it's all about, and just get that little bug in them to want to help. And I think that makes the ask easier later on.
Absolutely. And I love, you both really said kind of two thematic things. One is it's a cultivation. So it's not necessarily that, it would be great to get, yes, it's the first time every time, but you also both understand that that may not be the case. And the fact that you have the vision to be like, no doesn't mean no, never. No may mean no, not right now, but, I'm pregnant this year, or I'm trying to have a baby, or, I'm launching an IPO or whatever it is, but I can dance next year. You're seeing, and you're also kind of, you're hearing and understanding what they're going through, and you're realizing that there's a long game sometimes to be played with some people to, to say yes. And I love how you both describe that, and really that it is very much like a pipeline, and it's something that you work at, and it happens over time. Not everything happens instantaneously. And it's, it's a great way of knowing that, you're already planning for next year's event before the current one even happens. And that's something that's a recurring theme of all the top events. They all pretty much do that now, is that the cultivation process starts before the current years even happen for the following year.
True. It's all about relationship building, right? I mean, that's life, that's business, but especially for these kind of things, because you want them to be invested in the center for life. You want them to come back as a judge, as a dancer, as a co-chair, committee member. So it's about building that relationship, not just with you, but with the center. And I think the center is great at doing that.
Absolutely. So, with that said, tell us about this year's sensational crop of dancers. I mean, you've got a really all-star lineup. So I want to hear, about them and kind of what you think this year's cast brings that's unique to this year's cast.
It really is a phenomenal cast. I kind of still pinch myself at certain times. Not only that, but our judges, which I'm not going to say, I don't want to drop anything too soon. However, the people that are going to be on stage this year, it's really impressive, that we've been able to, just have this group of people. But I feel it that way every year with the cast, to be honest. I feel like every year that I've been a part of, it's like, oh, I can't believe that this is our cast. They're so talented, but the bar just keeps going up and up and up. And so this one's going to be a good one. It's going to be an entertaining night for sure. Did you want us to go to
list some of the folks or all the folks, list whomever you would want to, list, because you've got some really, good, impressive names that a lot of people in Austin will know, but also a lot of people outside of Austin and outside of Texas will know. And I think that's wonderful. It's
a good variety of people too, which is exciting.
Yeah.
They all kind of represent different careers and different fun things.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'll just go down the list.
Yeah, please do.
We have Dave Annabelle. We've got Amy Beard, Victor Beck, Myra Calderon, Angela Garcia, Preston James, James Klingman, Christy Carlson Romano, Brooke Nickel, Nazreen Shahi, and Kenny Vaccaro. We could talk about each one for sure, but I didn't
look them up. They're amazing. They're all incredible.
Yes.
They really are. And you've got everything from, philanthropists to actors to community leaders, and they all come together and really kind of create this interesting dynamic. And Betsy, I have a question for you, and that is, what's the difference of being in a cast and seeing another year's cast? I'd love to kind of get your perspective of what's it like in the cast bubble and watching the cast bubble.
I think from an audience member's point of view, it is neat for a lot of people to see someone that they might have seen on a television show or seen in a public light, and then see them in the room with you doing a dance that they've worked so hard on. I mean, these dancers every year, especially since most of them have, maybe they've never danced in their life, but then to throw in the element of ballroom dancing, which is still another level of dancing. Having to dance with a partner is no easy feat. And make it in sync and have the choreography work together. Not only that, but the facial expressions. It's a lot of learning on the go. And so I think being in the bubble, like when I was judging, you're really just trying as a judge to not only give positive feedback to the dancer, but also offer a little something to the audience about why. Like, yes, you can just say like, everything was great. This was great. I love your costume. But for me, being that I do have a background in dance, I wanted to give the audience a little bit of technically, why did I think it was good? Was it that that they had all of the accents with the music? They hit all of them. That's not always easy to do. So for me, I think just being able to offer that from inside to the audience so they do feel like if they were watching the show on television, they're getting the exact same experience, but in our hometown.
That's the perfect answer. And I love how you conveyed that. So with that, I want to talk about what people can expect when they walk into this year's Dancing with the Stars. And it really is one of the most fun nights that I look forward to every year. And Stephanie, I'd love for you to kind of field that question.
Sure. Well, starting last year, we really wanted it to be kind of an immersive experience. So once you kind of go up those escalators, you are now in Dancing with the Stars. And last year we had kind of into the mirror ball theme. So we wanted you to feel like, okay, I'm going into the mirror ball. This year, we were hoping to do kind of a Met Gala vibe. So you'll see kind of what we interpreted that to be, but it's the same vibe. Like you are just drawn in, and from the moment you get there, you're entertained. From the moment you get there, there's things to watch, there's things to do, there's pictures to take. So we really want it to be an elevated event that from the minute you walk in to the minute you leave, your eyes are on something visual and exciting. So I hope that everybody sees that this year. And again, we've tried to make it a little bit shorter by being a little bit more concise, but we'll see. There's so many components that go into place, as you know, and so many behind the scenes things that to incorporate all the elements of fun, the realness of the mission, fundraising, all of that. It's a lot to put in a few hours, but it's going to be entertaining for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's a destination fundraiser. I mean, we might just be downtown in Austin, but people block this night off on their calendar a long time in advance. As soon as we start releasing table sales, not only do we get a whole new crop of people that are there every year that are wanting to support their friend or someone that they want to see dance, but we also have huge retention from people the years past. Like you said, there are people that you see and you only see them at this event every year. And so it's just a night that we want people to not only remember the mission and where the money at the end of the night is going, but to have fun and to kind of feel like they are, like Stephanie said, entering into a full experience. We want this to be more than the bare bones of like, you come in, you register, you sit, you have a fundraiser, you watch the show. We want this to be more than that. We want this to be something that people are talking about, that they're like, we have to go back next year. We don't know what's in store, and we want to be there to experience it firsthand.
Well, and what
Stay tuned.
Well, absolutely stay tuned. But one thing I do, because I feel you're both being a little modest here. So this event is done on a Saturday in December. So remember that. I mean, you've got lots of competition. And yet every year you get 1,000+ people to go to this. And it really is a testament to, your leadership, the leadership of the organization, that it is a destination to do during the holidays when it is hyper competitive with holiday parties, office parties, whatever it is. The fact that you're able to consistently draw that year after year. And I know that you all are getting, you're all getting and pushing, into the, closing in on 20 years, pretty soon. For you all to be able to do that is just really remarkable. And I just, I applaud you all as friends and as fellow community citizens for everything you do to make this event just a really magical night in Austin, where you get to see really things that you really couldn't see anywhere else. So, I want to applaud you both for that.
This event
Thank
has come
you.
a long way, but I think that goes to show, first off, I can't even say that without complimenting the center staff that doesn't just work on this event, but on every event. And they're there for the kids that come in the door every day. It could be 2 a.m. and someone from the center is going to be there. So I feel like, without giving a shout out to the center as a whole, about how many things they juggle and what they have done. This event started back in 2007 and they raised just under $500,000. Last year, we almost raised $2 million. And I think that's because people, once they're, it's a hook, line, and sinker. Once you're in, you can't help. But the center has done such a great job at just making sure that all donors feel appreciated too. So it has been a cultivated thing for years and years.
It's a well-oiled machine. I referenced that before, but it really is. Once you kind of see the behind the scenes, they got it down to the dates. Like, this ends in December. We start meeting in January. And we've already talked about half the things the year before. So they've got it down. They know how this rolls out. And they have a vision 2 years prior on what the next 2 years are going to be. So kudos to them. And they've elevated it every year, which has been so fun to see.
Absolutely. And just to see kind of the evolution. And I think in a lot of ways, this event mirrors the evolution of Austin in a lot of ways, and kind of what's come in over the last 15 years. So, it's, Betsy, I really appreciate you kind of saying, how much the fundraising trajectory over the years, and it's been a steady climb. It's not like you went from 5 million to 2 million and stayed flat. It has been, you've steadily increased the amounts of funds raised each and every year. And that allows for that continued growth, that continued buzz, and that continued excitement that, I know we're all excited to see, in December.
It's going to be a good one.
Well, there's one staple, Rob. You guys are a staple at this event, and we appreciate that. Well, you guys have always been so supportive, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It warms my heart to hear that. You all, and I've been friends with so many of the chairs of this event over the years, and each and every one of you means a lot to me. And, I'm just grateful for what you all do. So thank you both very much, Stephanie, Betsy, for being on today.
Thank you.
I have to say, though,
Thanks
I feel a little bit like a third wheel, because you guys were partnered together in the intro last year.
Oh, that's right.
I know. Our twirl was amazing.
So, but Betsy,
I'm a little bit of a third wheel. I need Lance.
No. Full stop.
Lance is always around. Don't worry.
I loaned my husband out to Betsy, so there were no third wheels here.
So y'all share that.
I'm just kidding. But I will say that was a ton of fun. I loved our rehearsal, and that's another little behind the scenes token that people don't see is, that it's not just the dancers that are learning steps. Sometimes, chairs and hosts and, it's such a production. There's so much that goes into it so that everyone can deliver their best performance in a lot of ways.
That is true. All true. And that's the mic drop moment. Stephanie, Betsy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Fun.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see you at it either. And the Dancing with the Stars Austin, presented by Mercedes-Benz of Austin, benefiting the Center for Child Protection, will be on December 9th, 2023 at the JW Marriott in Austin, Texas. For more information, please visit centerforchildprotection.org. And that will do it for this week's episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.